Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are just kind of doing a little catch-up. We're going to be talking about what we've been playing, watching, whatever. In the meantime, when we've been doing all these other shows focused on like a singular topic, we've been doing our full spoiler segment covering different things left and right. And while all of that's been going on, we've also been doing some other things. So we're going to catch up on some of those things. We've also got an On the Horizon segment and an On Beat segment where we're going to go over, a news story and some trailers. Let's kick things off with On the Horizon.
On the horizon.
On the Horizon is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. Last week, I believe, we talked about a new sketch comedy show on Netflix called Bad Thoughts. We talked about a trailer for it. It's Tom Segura. It's his new sketch comedy show, and we talked about the fact that I Think You Could Leave kind of like was perfectly summed up by the name. Like that was like the tone of the show, and Bad Thoughts is supposed to be like about intrusive thoughts. So it's kind of like a similar thing there, like a very different idea, but like the same kind of like general concept that there's like a theme to the sketch comedy show. That is coming on Tuesday, May 13th to Netflix. Then on Thursday, May 15th, Bet, which I don't think we talked about the trailer for this. I think you and I did, but I don't think we did on the show. And it's based on a manga about a gambling school.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I think we talked about it, but not on the show.
We definitely did talk about this.
That's coming on Thursday, May 15th to Netflix. Duster, which I believe we also talked about last week, or was it the week before? I think it was last week.
It was last week, for sure.
Yeah, we talked about the trailer for Duster with Josh Holloway, and that is coming on Thursday, May 15th to Max. We talked about Love, Death, and Robots also recently, and that's coming on Thursday, May 15th to Netflix. That's the 4th season of it. Overcompensating is a new A24 college comedy series coming to Amazon Prime on Thursday, May 15th. It's weird how A24 is like elevated horror and now they have like college comedy TV series. Their brand's kind of diluted a bit, hasn't it?
It is. Yeah, they're trying to like grow their brand by like doing other stuff, including like some more mainstream stuff. So it's kind of like...
I think they looked over to their right and they saw Blumhouse, and they looked over to their left and saw Neon and said, you got it.
Yeah, you got it. Also, A24 isn't just horror. It was like dramas, and then some like weird, more out there, quirky, like
stuff, yeah.
Indie comedies, like that one... Daniel Radcliffe, was it? I think it was Robert Pattinson, I think, played a dead body.
No, that was Daniel Radcliffe.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
It was Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano were the two in that movie.
Okay, yeah, it was Daniel Radcliffe who played a dead body. I think that's supposed to be a comedy.
I think that's from the guys that did Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
It's like the same directors.
Okay, yeah, so that was like an A24 film. So like, they were like strictly horror. Like
yeah. I think they started with elevated horror and then they just went into like, well, we just do weird, interesting stuff. And then now they're doing like college comedies. TV shows. It's like, okay.
So weird evolution of their stuff.
Yeah, but that's coming on Thursday, May 15th to Amazon Prime. Doom the Dark Ages is coming out on Thursday, May 15th to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. It's too early for it to be on Switch 2, but I have a feeling that this is eventually going to be on Switch 2.
Maybe. It's hard.
2017 Doom and Eternal both came to Switch.
Oh, the Dark Ages? Yeah, that's definitely going to be Switch 2. It's so weird that they haven't like announced it yet. But
I don't think it's not going to be a launch game, but it'll be like for Switch 2. I mean, but it'll come eventually.
Yeah, it'll come eventually. Yeah.
Murderbot. This is one that you were looking forward to. Coming on Friday, May 16th to Apple TV+. You got your subscription up?
The Alexander Skarsgård show.
Yeah. I'm going to have to decide if this is going to make me subscribe to Apple TV+, or if I'm just going to keep waiting for the Vince Gilligan show.
Right.
I'm eventually going to have to get it, and then I'm going to, like, burn through. I'm just going to, like, that's going to become my focus, is just all the Apple TV shows.
All the Apple, yeah.
Watch every single Apple TV show in a month and then cancel.
Tragic. Apple made their own subscription service streaming app, and it's actually good.
Yeah, but Murderbot looks good. That's coming on Friday, May 16th. Then Capcom Fighting Collection 2 is coming on Friday, May 16th to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch.
I am excited for that. That is going to be amazing.
What's in Fighting Collection 2? Okay, yeah, Power Stone's in that. That's definitely the big one.
Yeah, that's the big one. We got Plasma Sword. I don't really care about that.
Fighting Collection 1 is like the monster games, right? Like the Dark Stalkers and all that. That was Fighting Collection 1.
Yeah, Capcom Fighting Collection 1 was like, yeah, I think it was mostly the Darkstalkers games. Yeah, it was. And then this one's Power Stone games. You got Capcom vs. SNK, Millennium, Project Justice, the last version of Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Kind of more of an eclectic mix of fighting games.
Yeah, it's more of an eclectic mix. Yeah, it's of games on it.
Final Destination Bloodlines comes out on Friday, May 16th to theaters. Seen a few trailers from that. It very much looks like a Final Destination movie.
More, Rube Goldberg kills.
Yeah, and you also got, was it Tony Todd? It might be one of his last performances.
I think it is. I don't know, like, precisely if it is, but, like, it is definitely, like, one of them. Tony Todd was in, like, most of the Final Destination films. Mm-hmm. His character usually just shows up for, like, one scene in those
Isn't he,
movies.
like, a mortician that represents death or something?
Yeah, he's, like, a mortician who, like, seems to, like, have some understanding of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And then Hurry Up Tomorrow comes out on Friday, May 16th to theaters as well. This is, I guess it's supposed to be like an adaptation of Misery or something. And it's got like The Weeknd and Jenna Ortega, and she like kidnaps him, and it's this weird kind of like millennial Misery.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that.
So yeah, that's coming to theaters on Friday, May 16th. That is it for our On the Horizon segment. And now we're going to move on to On Beat. On Beat is where we're talking about the week's news and trailers, so that's what we're going to be doing. We just got one news story and then a few trailers to go over. The news stories, it's kind of ridiculous. So, the director of 10 Things I Hate About You, which was a romantic comedy from the 90s that starred Julia Stiles, Heath Ledger, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, among others. The director of that, Gil Junger, wants to make a sequel trilogy, and he said he's got like scripts and stuff, or like he's got like ideas down for it to do it. And he wants to work with Julia Stiles again. And he says he wants to honor Heath Ledger, who of course passed away years ago now, a decade ago, I think. So this is just like strange, you know? I mean, he even named the movies in the trilogy, which was 10 Things I Hate About Dating, 10 Things I Hate About Marriage, and 10 Things I Hate About Kids. This is weird on so many fronts. Like, first off, 10 Things I Hate About You was an adaptation, like a modernization and adaptation of William Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. So you're just gonna like adapt Shakespeare, make it modern, and then follow it up with sequels?
Right.
No more Shakespeare adaptation aspect to it? Just,
nope.
Here's some sequels, you know?
I mean, it's funny because I think there was something similar going on with Clueless I heard about, whereas Clueless was a modern remake of Emma, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it's basically that.
That happens a lot. It's just weird when somebody follows it up
apparently they're making a Clueless streaming series now or something based on it. Okay, I mean, the first one was based off of a literary novel. It followed the same beats, had characters constructed around those character archetypes, and now you're going to expand it into a series, so you're no longer working with that material. It's the same kind of situation here, right?
Yeah, I mean, this happens a lot. I mean, you get, like, Shakespeare adaptations a lot, but usually they're very specific to, like, the formula, and then it's just gonna take those characters and throw them into, like, a generic romantic comedy, because, I mean, like, even Sons of Anarchy was, like, Shakespearean as well. That was based on Macbeth.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, that happens a lot, where people adapt Shakespeare and kind of modernize it and turn it kind of into its own thing, but then to, like, follow it up with something just feels kind of off. Like, it just feels weird to do that, because it's like you're losing that strong basis completely. I don't know. And then it's also weird because this was in the 90s. So we're talking 25, 26, 27 years ago here for this adaptation. And the order of the movies is 10 Things I Hate About Dating, then 10 Things I Hate About Marriage, then 10 Things I Hate About Kids. So is this about, like, Julia? And he specifically cited that he wanted to work with Julia Stiles again. So is this like Julia Stiles having a geriatric pregnancy or something? Like, what is this about? Like, how does this work? Or, I think you pointed out when we were talking before the podcast, it'll be about her kid or something. She'll be like the mom, and it's her kid going through this story. And it's like, it's just so weird. One of the biggest draws being Heath Ledger passed away.
I don't know, like, I don't want to be, like, completely dismissive about him. Maybe he's got some genuinely good ideas and genuinely unique direction, but also, like, I can't help but be a little cynical and thinking, well, this is part of the rush by studios to mine whatever, like, IP that they have for, like, new content.
This is from the director, not from the studio, which makes me think it's more along the lines of somebody yearning for their glory days.
Right?
Why? Why is this necessary? Where is this coming from? And just like the idea of, like, it's going to be a trilogy. The first one's dating, the second one's marriage, the third one's kids. It's like, how generic can you get?
Right, yeah, exactly. And, like, is the opposite of Bob Gale, who says, like, they're never doing a Back to the Future 4.
He's getting more and more rude about it, too. Every time they ask him, it went first like, no, I'm not going to do that, to like, it's never going to happen, to like, it's never going to happen, fuck off.
Yeah, he said those movies exist, they're done. And he said something really nice about, too, like, where he said, the movies aren't perfect, but they're perfect enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no need to go back to that well.
Yeah,
and I mean, kind of
if you want to explore Back to the Future, the best way to do it would be just to kind of make like a spiritual successor or like a new thing. Just kind of like take the ideas of it but remix it and do something fresh and unique with it and not call it Back to the Future. Just make it something new that's obviously heavily inspired by it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the best way to do it.
It's not like what's happening with this. They're definitely just trying to mine 10 Things I Hate About You for like new content.
Yeah.
Just like
kids like that movie like 30 years ago. People who like that movie are entering the 50s now.
That's a movie title that current Gen Z girls' moms will recognize.
It's getting closer to Gen Z girls' grandmothers will recognize at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus. I don't know. I mean, who knows? It could be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't want
These could all be other adaptations of Shakespeare for all we know. They could bring back Joseph Gordon-Levitt and have a field day and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Who knows? But it feels kind of shameless.
No, I agree.
Now we're going to move on to the trailers. We've got 5 trailers to go over this week. Some TV shows, some movies, one video game that I don't think anybody's even heard of, but we're going to introduce it. We're going to introduce this game to the world. We're going to be the ones that get this game, on the map. People are going to know about this game because of us. But we're going to start things out with Together. Now, you and I talked about this before. We decided not to cover the teaser for it just because there just wasn't much there.
There wasn't like anything to like really discuss, It's like, oh, this looks weird. It's got Alison Brie and Dave Franco. I mean, that's about it. I mean, that's not a discussion.
I mean, we knew it was supposed to be body horror. We knew that it featured the two of them who are a real married couple, which is like an interesting kind of way of doing that. And that it was kind of about them coming together and stuff. And we got to watch like another trailer for it here. And we don't know too terribly much more, but we got like a lot more like scenes. We got more footage to kind of go off of like what this looks like tonally. Before we just kind of got the creepy vibe, but in here we're getting like, there's kind of like a sweet vibe to their relationship, and they're being pulled together, and they're trying to stop it. Like something's causing this, and that's where a lot of the horror is going to come from. Isn't just that they're like somehow like pulling together and kind of merging, but that they're actively resisting it, using saws to try to cut themselves apart from each other and stuff. Which just makes it look like, yeah, it's a body horror movie.
Yeah, it's this weird, disturbing body horror movie. I watched this trailer, and while there's a lot, I still don't really know what's going on in it, except they're drawn to each other, like literally.
Mm-hmm. The scene where she's like off the ground against the door, like smashing into it and just kind of shaking and stuff is like, ooh.
Yeah, ooh, yeah. Looks very creepy. Looks like a fun time.
Also looks like some really good physical performances too. So.
Yes.
Next we got a trailer for Honey Don't from the Coen brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not brothers. Joel is not involved with this. It's Ethan Coen, which, I mean, Joel and Ethan Coen have kind of been doing their own separate things for a while now. They haven't done anything as a duo in a long time.
I think the last one might have been, was it Buster Scruggs or whatever that movie was? I think that might have been the last one they did together. It's been a while.
Think so? Yeah, it's been a while.
But here we've got kind of like a detective story kind of comedy, which, you know, fits in with like the Coen brothers, or a lot of their stuff has got kind of like a comedic edge to it, but it's also kind of dark and, you know, dramatic, like Fargo or something, you know, where it's got this comedic angle to it, but it's also like a serious crime story at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely got that Fargo style to it.
Yeah, that kind of sense that you have lots of interesting characters, and that kind of shapes out this murder mystery or this mystery of whatever it is. And then you're going to have like elements of comedy coming from these like eccentric characters.
Oh yeah, geez. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs was 2018. They have not been a duo for a while now.
Yeah.
It's like, cause like Joel only did one movie since The Tragedy of Macbeth for Apple TV back in 2021.
That was a black and white, I think, if I remember correctly.
That's Joel's only film credit after Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Ethan has 3 films.
He did that Drive-Away Dolls, I think.
Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis, Trouble in Mind, Drive-Away Dolls, and now Honey Don't, which is the movie we're discussing right now. Margaret Qualley was also in Drive-Away Dolls, so it looks like Ethan likes working with Margaret Qualley, which is like...
One of the girls from Drive-Away Dolls was in Thunderbolts.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Coen brother movie.
That's it looks like a Coen brother movie. I mean, it looks fun. It looks like it's it's got stack hats. I mean, you know, it's got Margaret Qualley, it's got Chris Evans, it's got, you know, Aubrey Plaza, Charlie Day. Maybe Charlie Day is not like a huge name.
Luigi's in this?
Luigi, but like, we love Charlie Day here. So it looks like a lot of fun. Definitely like a movie worth keeping an eye on.
Mm-hmm. It looks like something that's gonna travel, like our next movie. We got a trailer for The Long Walk.
Yes.
It's about a bunch of guys taking a long walk. What could go wrong?
A very long walk. Yeah. And when you think of a walk, you think of, you know, something relaxing, something soothing. Mm-hmm. This is not relaxing. This is anxiety-inducing.
And it started out looking like it was going to be kind of a relaxing thing, and then the other shoe dropped.
Yes, yeah, exactly. This is basically like a horror thriller.
It's like a battle royale.
Yeah, except like nobody's
but they're just walking.
Fighting. Yeah.
It's a walk royale.
Don't have too many details from the trailer of the basic story, but basic story is apparently it's a bunch of young men. I don't know how many, possibly like more than 100 to begin with. They're being led down this walk by like what looks like these military people. And they keep referencing like it's a contest. Like it's a contest to see who's the last person standing. And the thing is, it isn't like something where if you get exhausted or something, you're disqualified. Like, you are disqualified, but you're disqualified from living.
Yeah.
Because they
Squid Game sort of way, yeah.
Yeah, this is like a Squid Game type deal where, like, if you fail the contest, you get a bullet to the head.
It's like Squid Game meets The Trail of Tears.
Yeah. And it's based off a short story by Stephen King.
Yeah, looks interesting. I like that it started out with this whole other kind of like tone where it looked like this light thing of these people. They were like introducing each other to each other while they were walking, and it's like, why are they walking? What's going on? And then you kind of see this like tank kind of thing in front of them guiding them, and it's like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then like, okay, I get the premise now where it's going, and it just looks like it's very much about like stress and exhaustion. So yeah, another Stephen King adaptation coming our way from the director of the Hunger Games movies, or some of the Hunger Games movies. our next trailer, or it's actually a teaser, it's just 30 seconds. We finally got something for Peacemaker Season 2. We'd only ever gotten a scene, meaning like, I don't know, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, like in one of those HBO or Max like compilation things that they'd play before like a new series started, going like, oh, and this is coming up too. Here's like 10 new shows that are going to be coming this year. And that's all we've ever gotten for Peacemaker Season 2 before. And now we got a 30-second tease with the promise of a trailer coming soon. So what did you think of the Season 2 of Peacemaker?
Looks like it's going to be amazing.
You notice Rick Flag's in it? Rick Flag Sr.?
Yep, saw Rick Flag Sr., yep. He's going to be going after Peacemaker. He's got a bone to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. Peacemaker was great. The first season was great. You know, it was James Gunn, and it was really good. And yeah,
it was closest to like perfect. I've ever seen a series. Like there wasn't like one episode I thought was like, oh, that was a bad, or like even like a mid episode. It was just running on all cylinders for the show's entire run. I just thought that was remarkable.
Yeah, it was a great show. It was funny. It was like endearing, great characters. Introduced us to Vigilante, who was a great character.
Yeah, who was also a great character. Yeah,
and John Cena pulling in a surprisingly good performance.
Yeah, doing some of his best work.
And then the last trailer we're going over today it's like I said, it's for a game that nobody really knows about, but we thought we'd put it on the map today.
Little indie game.
Yeah. We thought we'd put it on the map.
Give us some free promotion on our podcast.
Yeah.
To help
you
it
owe
out.
us. If this game is successful, if this game somehow becomes a success, I think they owe us.
I think they owe us at least like 5% of the money. Just 5%.
We're talking about a little game called Grand Theft Auto 6.
Grand Theft Auto 6. This came out, it's interesting about this trailer. This is mostly this is a story trailer. This is a cinematic story trailer. It's kind of like explaining the story of the game and like the main characters you're going to be playing as. There's not really like any gameplay in this trailer. I mean, the game comes out.
Rockstar trailers are always like that.
Yeah. Game comes out a year from now. What's interesting is at the end of the trailer, they said all the footage of the trailer was taken from a PS5 console. So make of that what you will. But
not Pro.
Yeah, not Pro. Yeah, they did not say Pro. They said the PS5.
It's also right now, this is a game that is not yet slated for PC, if I remember correctly.
Correct. There's no PC version in development as of right now.
Yeah, so this is just PS5 and Xbox Series X. And I think they also said they're doing a Series S version.
Yes, it's Series X and S. So at the baseline, it'll run on the Series S. That'll be an interesting comparison.
If they can do that, then there's a chance it could make it to Switch 2 as well, because Switch 2 is not too far behind.
Yeah, there's a chance. I see like a lot of chatter online of like, oh, that's going to be an impossible port. Well, I will see. I mean, it depends on if they even do it in the first place.
Yeah. Series S is also significantly weaker, you know, so it's
right.
If they're already going to be doing that, then it would make sense to, you know, push a little bit lower than that, because it's not that much further lower to get to Switch 2 spec.
Right, yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I'm more bullish on that kind of stuff than like other people are at the moment, but I mean, I'm not going to speculate on that because like nothing's been announced.
Yeah,
this game
they haven't announced the PC version either yet, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this game is like still a year away from launching on the platforms they announced it for. So
that's the other piece of news that came from this, is that there is going to be a delay to 2026. This was originally supposed to be coming out this year. This was the game before the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, when everybody found out that Mario Kart, you know, was going to be $80. This is the game that everybody thought was going to raise the price of games.
Yes, people were bracing for like $100 on this game.
Yeah.
We don't know like what that's going to end up being. I think it's a guarantee. It's going to launch as an $80 game at minimum. I mean,
at minimum, yeah.
Yeah,
Probably more.
I mean, they got the permission now from the industry, right? Because like Nintendo's putting out an $80 Mario Kart. Microsoft announced that some of their fall games this year are going to be $80. Cough, Call of Duty, cough. If other people are doing it, Rockstar can do it, and they can get away with it. Easy.
I think they would have done it regardless. I don't think they needed permission or Rockstar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But now, like, it softens the blow for them, right? It's soft. Yeah. Like, that sticker shock's not going to be there like it would have been at first.
It will when they announce it's like $400 for the game.
Yeah.
It comes on its own console. It's canceled for PS5. Like, it's got its own console that only plays
exactly. It's the GTA 6 console. That's still going to sell like 100 million units.
Yeah, it's like the only game that could do that.
Yeah, that could do that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think it looks fine. My big gripe is I'm understanding of the delay. I think it's to polish up the game and not to force the developers to have to work overtime or, go into crunch, which that's commendable, especially for like a big publisher like Take-Two and like a big mega franchise. Like that should be commended. That's some commendable restraint to not force those developers into crunch over this. That's perfectly fine. I don't mind the delay. The delay was expected. I just don't really want to watch a trailer for a game or think about a game that's still like a full year away from launching. Because we're in May 2025 now, and you're asking me to think about May 2026. I don't want to.
The points we can take away from this, though, is that, like, it graphically looks amazing. It looks significantally better than the last trailer we saw.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Right off the bat, in, like, every way. I heard some people saying it's kind of Uncanny Valley, and yeah. I think I've triggered where that is. I don't think it's in the graphics at all. I think it's in the voice acting.
Oh, yeah, the voice acting,
Because the figures look so realistic now, that when you get, like, the kind of canned pre-recorded dialogue that's recorded separately, it just feels off now. And it feels, because to me what it felt like when I was watching the trailer is it felt like I was watching a movie that was dubbed into a different language.
Yeah.
Like when you watch like an old martial arts film and it's dubbed into, and I don't mean because like the lip sync's off or so, I don't mean that. I just mean like the audio quality of the voices doesn't sound like they're in the environment. And that wouldn't bother you too much, except it looks so realistic that like now it is becoming something bothersome. It has become an uncanny valley because of that. But I don't think it's in the graphics itself. Like the graphics aren't even necessarily, they're incredibly good, but they're not specifically only realistic. Like there is kind of a stylization to them. It's just very light, but it's similar to, I heard somebody else refer to it as being kind of similar to like a Capcom game where you'd have something like a Resident Evil where it's got kind of the new Resident Evil games have kind of like a realism to them, but they're also like, they're a little cartoony. You know what I mean? Like just a little bit. Yeah, and that's intentional. It's not like they can't achieve the better graphics. It's like they are intentionally making it like a little cartoony, which is like the right move. That's kind of like how you avoid the uncanny valley, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But I think they're hitting it anyways because it looks so close to realistic that the audio is like throwing me, you know? Because it all sounds like an actor in a booth, you know?
And that's one of the things like about Rockstar is like you can always count on them to like push the graphical envelope of the generation. Like I thought PS4 games looked fine until I saw Red Dead Redemption 2 and I was like, holy shit, this is what the PS4 can do. This is the visuals that can be pushed out. Like it really felt like nobody else was pushing the hardware until like that game came out.
They also get like this weird focus on like little details. Red Dead Redemption 2 had like the horse testicle physics.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
Which became a joke where they'd actually get like shrinkage when it was cold and stuff. And like, it was like, okay, they're putting that much attention in. Did you hear about what they're doing with this? With Grand Theft Auto 6?
I don't think I'm familiar.
They created a beer physics.
Oh, beer physics. That's
so like
cool.
The bubbles in the beer and the way the fluid moves and stuff is like realistic, like actual beer now. That's actually put that attention into it.
That's cool. I love that they're going into that much detail.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. The Grand Theft Auto team only really works on Grand Theft Auto. Like, you know, Red Dead Redemption 2 was done by a different team, you know? It wasn't the same team that did that. When did Grand Theft Auto 5 come out?
2013.
It came out on the PS3.
Yes.
We're talking, I mean, 2 generations have passed, you know? So that's how long they've been working on this one game. I mean, this is like, that's a longer development than the purported development of Cyberpunk, which turned out to not be 100% true, but like that whole like, Cyberpunk's in development for like 7 years. It's like, no, this is more than that, you know?
Yeah, this is more than that. This is probably
like 12 years or something?
One of the longest gaps between sequels.
Not counting stuff that like...
Kind of like Duke Nukem.
Like, not counting stuff where it was like not always actively in development. You know, this is a game that was in all likelihood always in development through that entire time, you know?
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. This is like, I should rephrase it to say longest gap in franchise sequels by a franchise like that's being actively like developed.
Yeah.
So not like a dormant franchise. franchise that suddenly like got a new entry like after 20 years or something.
Yeah, because you get that stuff, or you even get something where like it's a sequel that's planned, but then like they lose funding and it goes out of development for like a year, and then it gets picked up again, and it's like that was not the case.
Development hell.
That was not the case with this. This was just constantly in development for like 12 years now.
Yeah. As far as I know, there was no development hell for this. This is just how long this game took to make.
Yeah. So just absolutely crazy. I admire this game. I really have no interest in playing it.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few that falls into that category. I think it's newsworthy. I think it's fascinating. I check the trailers because it is fascinating.
It is like
what Rockstar's doing.
Yeah, it is like the biggest franchise in gaming. I think GTA 5 has sold probably more than any other game in history. It's kind of crazy, the sales on that. Yeah, I think that game came out in 2013. That game was routinely like on the top 10 NPD for like, even like after 10 years.
Yeah.
It was still hitting the top 10 on the sales charts.
It was doing Mario Kart 8 numbers, but on multiple systems simultaneously.
Yes. It got to a point where like basically it was Mario Kart 8 where pretty much everybody bought a Switch, bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Pretty much everybody buying a PlayStation or Xbox picks up GTA.
Yeah. So that's the new trailer for that. Looks absolutely astounding. The lighting model looks really good. It's going to be kind of cool to see people dissect this trailer in the days to come. But,
oh yeah, definitely be really cool to see the commentary.
Yep. But that is it for our On Beat segment. And now we're going to move on to OnTap.
What we've been watching. What we've been playing. What's on tap?
We don't have a singular topic to go over. That's why it's on tap and not full spoilers. We have individual things that the other one of us hasn't seen. So I'm talking about 2 movies I saw that Will has not seen. Will's talking about a TV series and a game that he was experiencing that I have not.
So we're only going to be talking about in generalities because we're not trying to spoil each other. But maybe through the discussion we can convince each other to check out these things.
So we're going to start things off with the Righteous Gemstones, which I've never checked out. I watched a little bit of Eastbound and Down. I watched Vice Principals, which had, 2 of the guys in Righteous Gemstones. I know Walton Goggins in Righteous Gemstones, and he was in Vice.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he was in Vice Principals.
McBride's in all of them. But yeah.
Yeah, these are like Danny McBride. Yeah, I mean, Danny McBride created the Righteous Gemstones just like he created Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 3rd Danny McBride series that recently ended this year with its 4th season.
I was just about to say, I think it was 4 seasons, right?
Yes.
Not the 4 seasons.
4 seasons. The show started in 2018 and it ended in this year, 2025. 4 seasons. So they weren't doing like a season like every year. It was like one of those things where like they were staggered. I think like I was looking at it was like the first season was 2018, second season was 2022, third season was 2023, and then season 4 is 2025.
Yeah. HBO does that kind of thing. I mean, they had this long-standing thing with Larry David for Curb Your Enthusiasm where basically like he would do a season and then he'd just go away and kind of live his life and do his thing, and then he'd come up with an idea for another season and he'd go to HBO and they'd say, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's like how that show went. So sometimes like a seasons would be like a year and then the next year's another season, and sometimes it would be like 5 years have passed.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's interesting because like I haven't seen like Vice Principals, I haven't seen Eastbound and Down, so I haven't like really watched like Danny McBride's work. I know I'm like a big fan of Walton Goggins from like other things, so to see him in a comedy I thought would be interesting.
Yeah, that's gotta be unique for you. You haven't seen him in a comedy at all yet, have you? I mean, he's been funny in his other roles. He's funny in Fallout, and he was funny in Justified, but those weren't comedies, you know?
Yeah, those aren't comedies. Yeah, exactly. And so I decided to check it out. I watched, I got through season 1, like, last year, and then I started season 2, like, a couple months ago, and was kind of like, I watched, like, the first 2 or so episodes of it, and, like, I kind of got busy, and didn't pick it back up, and I picked it back up, when just recently, and then when we were talking about this podcast, I thought, yeah, I could just get through season 2, and that'll be my topic.
Motivation.
Yeah, motivation. Yeah, exactly. It's good. It's a real funny show. I mean,
Great
we've already
cast.
talked.
We talked
Great
about
cast.
Danny McBride and Walton Goggins, but you also
But
got
yeah,
John Goodman.
John Goodman. Love
Yeah.
John Goodman. Yeah, John Goodman's in it.
And who's
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy who plays his younger brother? I can't remember his name.
Adam,
Is it
Adam
Devine?
something. Adam Devine, yeah.
Yeah, Adam Devine, who's great as well. Yeah, good cast. And I liked the Vice Principals. I just couldn't get into Eastbound and Down. I just, it was just too much for me, I guess. I never tried with Righteous Gemstones, but I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, heard really good things about it too. Yeah, and it's like, it's a whole deconstruction on like the megachurch pastors, but it's really like a lot more sympathetic to its subjects than you would think it would be. John Goodman's character, he's the patriarch, and there is a genuine earnestness to his character. He's not like just a huckster. But everybody else, the kids are horrible. Like Danny McBride and his siblings are just like horrible. And they're always like taking shots at each other and like, just like Danny McBride's character, he's like super ego driven. He plays the firstborn, so he thinks he's the big shot. Everything he does is like to feed his own ego.
It's funny because it's a parallel to Succession, which was on HBO at like the same time.
Right, yeah.
But like one was done as like a prestige drama and the other one's done as this kind of like comedy. So how did that work for you? You said that it plays it with earnestness with the characters and stuff. So does it pull on the heartstrings? Is it more in that dramedy category, or is it more just straight
doesn't
comedy?
Like go full dramedy. It's a lot more comedy, like that. But there are those moments, there are those dramatic moments, especially like season 2. Walton Goggins has like a very surprisingly, his character has a very surprisingly dramatic story arc where he has to like come to terms with a major sin of his past that includes a great cameo by Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. Is Walton Goggins' character, is he related to this family, or are they like separate?
He's the brother of John Goodman's deceased wife.
Okay, so he's like
he's like their
brother-in-law, uncle, yeah.
Yeah, he's the brother-in-law uncle, yeah. And Walton Goggins' character, he's great. He's crazy. He is like full-on 100% con man. He's like the sleaziest con man who you just like simply can't trust.
Snake oil salesman.
Yes. There is a bit in season 2 where he is literally hawking snake oil because like he's selling this mineral water. He calls it like cure-all. It cures everything, and he says, "Oh, it cures your COVID."
Of course that comes into play.
Of course that comes in. Of course they had to reference that, right? I saw that when COVID was happening. These huckster preachers, "Oh, we got the cure for COVID here." So of course they had to parody that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that's his character. Oh, I can say without getting into plot details of like other things. Season 2 also, they have like a lot of great cameos from like celebrities too. Season 2 has Jason Schwartzman. Eric Andre comes into it in season 2 in a great role. So they get like some pretty like, heavy hitter comedians in this.
Yeah, remember Man Seeking Woman?
Yeah, I remember that. That was amazing. I can't believe they canceled it. But no, I recommend you check it out. I'd be interested to see what you think about it.
That's The Righteous Gemstones. It's available on HBO and Max. So I'm going to be talking about 2 movies that I've seen recently. I've mentioned on the show before, I have a subscription to Regal, which is my local theater. So I try to just go to as many movies as possible. Sometimes it's because I want to see the movie, and sometimes it's just because it's a Wednesday and I have nothing to do. And if you have a subscription, it kind of changes the way you think about going to the movies. Because it's not like, do I want to pay to go to this movie? It's more just like, I have a free Wednesday. I want to make this pass worth it. And you get to that, that competitive kind of feeling you have when it's like 2 movies makes this pass worth it for a month. So I have to see 30.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you just
have to watch all the movies.
Exactly. Because you feel better about yourself if you're making it worth it. So that kind of changes the calculus on how you watch things. Both of these movies are examples of ones that I would have watched regardless. I was interested in both of these anyways. I'm going to start off with Death of a Unicorn. This is with Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's an A24. We mentioned A24. I believe this is A24.
Yeah, it is produced by A24.
It's kind of horror, kind of satire. There's parts of it that feel like a little bit Black Mirror, but more like magical. I actually heard the director talking how they took inspiration from Robert Eggers.
Magic Mirror.
I actually heard the director talk about how they took influence from Eggers in the sense that they really like buckled down and focused it on the lore and tried to make it as lore heavy as possible.
Oh, that's cool. It's funny hearing them like invoke Robert Eggers with this, because this is set in the modern day and stuff. You know, like they run a unicorn with a car, and Robert Eggers does like period pieces. I saw a quote by Robert Eggers. Basically,
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, he said like, if I had to film a car or a cell phone, I would throw up.
You were asking it why he doesn't do anything contemporary, and he was like,
he was like,
completely against it. But yeah, it does have this kind of focus on lore, and it's just kind of, it's a satire more than it's a horror film or anything. It's just this kind of ridiculous family.
Yeah, it's like,
and they're wealthy, and they're like a pharmaceutical company, and this guy, Paul Rudd's character, he's like a father, and his daughter's kind of mostly estranged from him, but he ropes her into going to this house, to this family, this rich pharmaceutical family, where the patriarch of the family is he's dying, and Paul Rudd's character is like a lawyer or something, like, you know, and maybe he's not a lawyer. He works with like contracts and things like that. And he comes in to kind of like secure everything for like the way the company's going to transition over to the family and everything. And the family's very much into the idea of like, okay, well, you know, we're like a family operation, so you need to bring your family too. We need to know that you're a family man that we can trust or whatever. And so he ropes his daughter into going with him. That's Jenna Ortega, who you can tell they have a very strained relationship. And she's going along with it just because he needs her, and he's trying to kind of make the most of it and trying to be good for her, but he's like so focused on being in the good graces of this family. And you realize as the movie goes on that he's doing that because he's so desperately trying to make sure that his daughter wants for nothing. So he is focused on family too, but he's made himself distant from his daughter because he's put so much focus on securing money in order to do that.
Right.
And so they're going to this family's house, and it's like way in like a protected, I think they're in like Canada, and it's this like protected land area. It's like there's just no, you know, wireless signal for like long stretches. It's just completely empty, and they end up hitting a unicorn. And then the parent unicorns are coming after looking for their unicorn baby. And that's what the movie's, it's like a satire about how they find out that like, oh, unicorn, you know, the blood and the shavings from the horn can like cure any disease and all this stuff, and it's just the greed starts coming in, and then they're facing basically a certainty of destruction from these mythical creatures. And that's what Death of a Unicorn is basically about. And it's a really fun movie because it's a horror film, but it's more satire than horror. And it's got a great cast. Will Porter's in this as well. He's like the son of the family. And then of course Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega are the kind of the real leads. And then who's the guy? Is it Richard Grant that played the old Loki in Loki? Like the old version of himself that like sacrificed himself? He's in it too. He's like the patriarch of the family. Yeah, great cast, fun movie, interesting. And then the next movie I saw is Sinners. This, of course, is everyone's been talking about.
I so want to see this.
What's crazy about this is not even talking about the movie itself and the themes of the movie itself, but what's crazy about this is the contract. Apparently, Ryan Coogler worked out a contract for this movie where he gets a pretty significant stake on the cut of the movie. But in addition to that, he had like full creative control, and the rights to the movie like slowly revert to him over time.
Yeah, like he got like a pretty good deal. Apparently, like he insisted on those. Those were the terms.
And it makes sense because a big part of the movie is about like appropriation, and the idea that like this like white-owned studio would like own his movie from his brain about his issues with appropriation would have been like very ironic. So it kind of fits that, you know, that's what would happen. Like that's how this would work out, that it becomes something that returns to him. And people were worried, like it had a pretty low budget for a Ryan Coogler movie, for something like, for him to follow up after Black Panther 2 is kind of a small budget, but you know, he made something that kind of is more personal to him. And nobody really thought it would be this blowout success, and it is. It's been incredibly successful. For this type of movie, it's one of the most successful in, like, decades, I think. So, yeah, it's a good movie. I think anybody who's seen any trailer for it knows that it's kind of in the vein of, like, a From Dusk Till Dawn, in the sense that you've seen From Dusk Till Dawn, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, and you know how that movie starts out as something else. Like, it doesn't start as a vampire movie.
It starts as a Tarantino movie, then goes to being a Robert Rodriguez movie.
Yeah.
It's like basically, that's the progression.
Yeah. I mean, it's all Robert Rodriguez and then written by Tarantino, but it starts out like a crime movie, and then it turns into, like, a vampire movie as it progresses. That is also the case here.
Great twist. If you are not familiar with the movie, you're like, where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
Of course, they advertised that twist. So, just like they did with Sinners. You know, Sinners, it was advertised as well. So it's like everybody knows it's coming.
Yeah. Sinners was advertised as a vampire movie from the jump. So, like, yeah, you know it's coming.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's really interesting because there's more going on than that. This isn't just like Ryan Coogler liked From Dusk Till Dawn and wanted to make his version of it. This is like something you can tell is more personal and tied to, like, his black identity, and then just also happens to be a vampire movie. And the vampire aspect almost becomes more of like a metaphor. Like, it's not like that's a weakness, though. It's not that, like, the vampires being a metaphor in this movie hinders it as a vampire movie. It's still great as a vampire movie, but that's not really what the movie's about, you know? Like, there's more to it. It's a lot about music, and like I said, it's about, like, cultural appropriation. It's about the separation in the South between races and the way certain people, like, work around that or are against that or through that. And it's very, very much about music, specifically about the blues. And there's a lot in there, and there's one scene that's absolutely, like, batshit, and I'm not gonna really even say what it is, but it's this very crazy scene, and I like the idea of the scene. I didn't really like the scene itself, but I think I'm kind of in a minority on that. I think a lot of people actually really did like that scene that I'm speaking of vaguely here. But the idea is amazing. I just didn't necessarily like the way, I thought it came across a little campy, but other people vehemently disagree with me there. So it's to each their own on that, I guess. But yeah, it's good, and it has a post-credits scene. So if you watch it, make sure you stick around through the credits, because the post-credits scene, it does something that I like that doesn't happen too often with post-credits scenes. But when it does, it's like a really cool effect, and it makes sense. It's not like a Marvel post-credits scene where it's setting up something else or just like a quick gag or something like that. That's not what it is. The post-credits scene, or I guess kind of the mid-credits scene of the movie, because there's another post-credits scene that's different. But the mid-credits scene, without giving anything away, it kind of recontextualizes the movie.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of go in and you get kind of hints about what, you know, other themes might be applied to what's going on. But then you see that scene and it kind of like completely upends like the initial feeling of what the movie was. And if you followed the hints, you kind of knew it was kind of going in that direction anyways, but it really just kind of solidifies that in kind of the mid-credit scene, which I really dig. I like the idea of that, where they can like explore something and then just adjust your viewpoint on that with a post-credit scene. And it makes sense as a post-credit scene because the natural ending point of the movie has already come and gone. And then this is just like, oh, here's something else to let you know what's really happening. So I dug that. So yeah, I won't say too much more than that about it because I don't want to spoil it for you or anybody else listening, but it's a good movie. I quite enjoyed it.
That's good.
And we got one thing left to talk about, and that's a game that you got into. And
yeah,
I've been hearing a lot about this game. This is kind of the it game right now.
This is the it game right now, and for good reason, too. So this is Expedition 33. This released, I don't know, like last week, I think, for PS5 and Xbox Series and PC.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I picked this up on PS5. I picked it up on Friday. I got around to playing it the other day. Just a little bit, just a little taste of it. I got through the prologue. I got through Act 1. So I beat the first boss of the game, basically. And
I say hi to Daredevil.
I'm saying hi to Daredevil. I'm blown away. I forgot, yeah, Charlie Cox is the main character in this, which is so funny. I actually had to look it up. Had Charlie Cox, like, ever done voice acting before? And, like, his only other voice acting credit that I could see is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, where he plays Daredevil, obviously.
Is he using his natural accent, or is he doing the American thing?
I think he's using his natural accent for this.
Okay.
So it's not an Americanized, because, like...
It's a French team, right? It's
a French development team, yeah. So, like, the characters in this, like, yes, are supposed to be French. I don't know, it's not set in the real world, so I can't, like, kind of, like, say, these are French characters. But yeah, he's not doing, like, an American accent in this.
But this is a French-developed JRPG.
Yeah, French-developed JRPG. What's interesting is, like, the director of this worked at Ubisoft. He said he was just, like, bored of the games they were making, and he wanted to make this, like, his dream game, which is a game Ubisoft would never fund.
It's good he left Ubisoft to do it, because if Ubisoft did fund it, there'd just be all these, like, weird microtransactions.
Yeah, these
and,
weird, like,
the opening
DLC.
menu would have, like, ads to, like, buy stuff on them, and...
Ultimate Premium Edition. No, I mean, this game, I'm blown away. Like, first of all, the story is, like, really interesting. It's, like, this really dark fantasy story. The basic setup is, and this is a spoiler because, like, this is the trailers and stuff, is, like, characters are all living in this world where there's, like, this being they call the Paintress. There's this illuminate number on a tree, and basically every year she wakes up and she counts down a number, and basically everybody at that time who is of that age instantly dies. Mm-hmm. They get Thanos snapped, basically. Mm-hmm. They get Thanos snapped. So, like, and the story starts up, it's like a bunch of people's, like, 33rd birthday. And that's the day, like, she wakes up and the number counts down from 34 to 33. And so, like, you get, like, a bunch of characters get Thanos snapped, like, right off the bat. And basically, your main character, you're leading the latest expedition, which is Expedition 33. There have been 100 expeditions, because when the Paintress first came into being, the first number was like 100. And people kind of like ignored it first to a little bit too, because 100-year-olds dying is not like really unusual.
Yeah.
But like as it counts down, it gets like more desperate. And so basically there's been like a whole bunch of expeditions before this. Every single one of them has failed. Everybody on those expeditions has died. And you're on Expedition 33, and basically the general sentiment from like a lot of characters is that you talk to in the prologue is kind of like, oh yeah, you're going on Expedition 33. Well, that's kind of pointless. That's kind of stupid. You're just gonna die. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody cares about it anymore. The attitude is kind of like, yeah, you're just gonna die like everybody else does. Nothing's gonna be fixed. So, like, you got a lot of characters like, you know, why don't you just spend the rest of your life just here, trying to live the best you can instead of, like, going on the suicide mission.
So one thing I've heard about this game, and I will say before that, is that I'm a big fan of the Shadow Hearts franchise of games.
Yeah.
And I've heard that the creator of this game is also a big fan of Shadow Hearts, and that it had like a big influence on, I think it was in the battle system and some of the other mechanics in the game. So tell me, how does this battle system work?
This is a really interesting battle system. It's turn-based battle system, like classic JRPGs. So, like, everybody has, like, a turn order. You take a turn, then your party member takes a turn, then the enemy takes a turn. You know, so it's that classic setup. And you have, like, stuff. You have your basic attack, then you have skills, which are, like, more powerful attacks, like magic-infused attacks and stuff that you can launch. And what's interesting, though, is there's, like, a real-time element to it, whereas, like, when the enemy is, like, attacking, in the middle of attack, you could block their attack or you could parry their attack. Mm-hmm. Or no, not block. You can dodge. You can dodge their attack or you can parry their attack. And dodging, like, obviously prevents damage if you do it successfully. But what's more interesting is parrying, because if you parry, you can not only prevent damage to yourself, but then you do, like, a counter attack that does, like, a lot of damage if you can successfully parry. Although, I might just be terrible at this game so far. I found to get the timing for the parries to be, like, really hard. It's a lot easier for me to get the timing down for the dodges. I think that's on purpose, too.
Are there other timing elements? Does it have that kind of, although tonally it's nothing like it, does it have, like, a little bit of that, like, Paper Mario RPG, like, timing sensibilities with, like, a turn-based system? Or is it something different?
I think it's something different.
Okay. So there's like, nothing else that uses timing besides the parry or dodge?
As far as I got up to. Okay. I don't know if there's more to it, like, at the further you go in. I will say that, but, like, as far as I made it up to, which is not super far, that's basically it. And, oh man, the story is so good. Once you get past the prologue, like, oh man. it really hits you. And I heard like the story gets even like more devastating the further you go into it, which I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to being devastated.
The world that they created, the story is really interesting. The combat is like super fun. I like the graphics are amazing. Character designs are good. The enemy designs are like really, really good, really interesting. It got me hooked like right away. It got me like thinking about like the next time I get a chance to play it. Cause like I want to continue. And you know, it's kind of hard to get me to feel that way about games, like where like I'm like, okay, yeah, I definitely want to get back playing this as soon as possible.
Yeah,
it's like a lot
in your
of time,
head rent free.
yeah, exactly. So I'm really glad I got this to be like, because this came out like the same week as like the Elder Scrolls remake, which I really love Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And I was, yeah, that's a no-brainer. But like, as I was thinking about it, I was, you know what? This game is really interesting. It's getting really good reviews. It's by an independent team. And it's like something new I haven't played before. It's something like unfamiliar.
Is it published by Microsoft? Because I know it's on Game Pass.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Because it's not like a Microsoft published game. Publisher is Kepler Interactive, which I'm not familiar.
I've heard of Kepler. I don't remember what they've done, but I've heard that name.
Okay, I'm looking up. Yeah, Sifu, Scorn, Pacific Drive. I think those are like the bigger ones.
Yeah. I've heard, that's where I've seen the name before. I've seen it before, like indie presentations and stuff. But yeah, it sounds good. I'm hoping this makes it to Switch 2.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome if they did a Switch 2 version.
Yeah, I have a PC that could play it, but I don't really like playing games on my PC for some reason, so.
Right.
I hope
Fair.
this comes to Switch 2 and it looks like it's gonna be good. This is something that I thought it was interesting that they were like, a foreign company was doing something that had like a very JRPG focus with like turn-based systems and stuff. And it was kind of like weird that they were doing that. And then I started hearing things like, oh, the director of the game is like a really big fan of like Shadow Hearts, and I love the Shadow Hearts series. So like that got my interest, you know, and then I just started seeing nothing but real positive praise for this game. And yeah, it looks like something interesting. But in order for me to play it, it's probably gonna have to come to Switch 2. So if you want me to play it, cross your fingers for Switch 2.
Because you definitely should do whatever you can to play this game.
But yeah, so that is Expedition 33, and that is it for our OnTap segment. Next week, we are going to be talking about Companion. This was originally going to be the follow-up to Barbarian for Zach Kriegler, but he ended up wanting to do something else. We talked about that something else recently because the trailer came out for that as well, which was Weapons. That's his next movie, but he's still a producer on this. And this came out in theaters earlier this year, and it's one of the, 5,000 movies this year that features Jack Quaid from The Boys, Huey from The Boys. So, that's what we're going to be talking about next week. You can watch Companion on Max. Might be on HBO as well, because that's basically the same thing. But check out Max for Companion. Watch along with us, and we'll be discussing that next week. Until then, thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will on both of those platforms. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.com. If you go to our website and open up a container story for any of our podcast episodes and scroll down to the bottom paragraph, you'll find all of the links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all of our social accounts. It's all there, so you can check that out as well. You can also subscribe to this podcast through your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts, and the entire backlog of this podcast, as well as additional content from the years that we've been doing this stuff, is available on our YouTube channel. So check that out as well. Link is, again, you go to our website and open up the container store for the podcast, and you'll find the link to our YouTube channel there as well. So thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.